Hello, very good evening to you. Welcome to North West Tonight with Kelly Foran. Our top story. Left out in the cold, the homeless men refused entry to a Manchester hotel.
Kick to the stomach, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't feel good enough for that hotel, for that person.
The hotel chain has apologised, also tonight. Bereaved families urge councils to end expensive burial fees outside their home area. The tie of the round, but tinged with tragedy, Macclesfield's inspiration as they host the FA Cup holders.
Let's do it while the mood is right.
10 years after we lost Victoria Wood, a movie remembers one of the region's favourite comedians. A homeless man who was refused entry to a hotel in Manchester during this week's freezing temperatures has told North West Tonight it was like a kick to the stomach. A video of him and another man being turned away from their prepaid rooms went viral after it happened on Monday when temperatures fell well below freezing. Holiday Inn has since apologised. Phil McCann reports.
Monday night, when the temperature outside was dipping as low as -6. Two men are being brought into Oxford Road's Holiday Inn Express by a homeless charity who'd booked them in, paid for by a donation.
Guys, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not going to be able to check you in. Full truth and transparency of the building, obviously. I know that you're from the street and the hotel doesn't allow that. Not a personal thing.
One of the men who was turned away was Callum. He was then allowed into the Travelodge in Ardwick, where I met him this morning.
When they said it, yeah, it was like a kick to the stomach, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't feel good enough for that hotel, for that person, you know, because I sleep on the streets or I'm categorised as a homeless person. If anything, that's what it took me head between my legs and run out of that hotel.
The charity helping Callum was the Manchester-based Two Brews, who also hand out hot drinks and meals in the city centre.
It was just like, I mentioned the fact that someone can discriminate someone by the way they look. You don't know who people are when you look at them. Everyone's an individual character.
It's just diabolical. I wouldn't even leave a dog out in this weather, never mind a human being.
After the video at reception was followed up in the media, Holiday Inn apologised. A spokesperson for the hotel here has said it recognises that this incident is not in keeping with our policy of welcoming all and should have been handled differently. They say that the hotel is now taking steps internally to strengthen its training. Callum's been in the Travelodge for the last week and will be until tomorrow. To him, it's been essential to his recovery from addiction.
So the days they've given me, I'm clean of heroin. I've rattled, don't get me wrong, it's been hard, well, sure, it speaks in itself, doesn't it? I'm off the heroin now, I feel good, man. Like, even this morning, I was up at 9:15, you know what I mean, like stepping in my room, so I don't know yet. The world's my oyster.
Phil McCann, BBC North West Tonight, Manchester.
A roundup of some of the other news now, and a man's been arrested on suspicion of murder after human remains were found at a flat in St Helens. Officers were called out just before midnight last night. A 65-year-old man from the area has been arrested. 2,000 homes in Burnley were left without running water from 6 o'clock last night after a burst main caused flooding. United Utilities said supplies were restored this morning. Cheshire Police is planning to cut 50 of its 87 PCSOs as part of plans to save £13 million. 60 were set to go, but the Police and Crime Commissioner says he's been able to save 10 of those roles and hopes to save more by increasing council tax for policing in the area. A conservation charity has agreed a new long-term deal to expand a woodland park on the Isle of Man. Manx Wildlife Trust says it's secured a 95-year lease on 2 plots of land next to the Hairpin Woodland Park, which is 11 acres in total. Now, the northwest seemed to escape the worst of Storm Goretti, but there is still a yellow weather warning in place for snow and ice across the southern part of the region. That lasts until Sunday afternoon. Despite the lack of snow in most areas, there was still severe disruption to rail travel. So why was that? Our transport correspondent Judy Hobson is here to tell us more. And Judy, there didn't seem to be much snow, but on some routes there was no trains?
In some routes, yes. Avanti West Coast continues to run a really limited service at the moment between Manchester and London. That is due to snow that, of course, fell in the West Midlands, and it also affected cross-country services between Manchester and Birmingham. Now, the problems can continue even after snow thaws, because sometimes engines can't get into the, they can't get into the places, the depots to refuel. Staff have problems getting into work. So always check really before you travel. Some operators are letting passengers use tickets dated for today at the weekend or Monday, so that's worth checking. But there were no trains at all this morning on the Hope Valley line between Manchester, Glossop and Sheffield. That was in anticipation of snow, but there wasn't much snow. The problem is they were cancelled anyway, and then it's really difficult to get those services up and running. But Northern worked hard to do that, and by lunchtime there were some services, but they are still limited. Of course, that is very frustrating, but you know, you have to cancel services sometimes if you think there's going to be snow. Some roads were closed overnight, Snake Pass and Woodhead Pass. They've both now reopened. Yeah, and it's not over yet. There's still that yellow weather warning in place. Yeah, for much of the region, actually. There was heavy snow in Buxton overnight. As snow melts, it brings really icy conditions for travel, so people are advised to take care. Snow's also forecast in Lancashire, in places like Bacup and areas near Burnley. The gritters are out, of course. Lancashire County Council now has an online map which shows in real time the location of the gritters. So if you want to know where those gritters, you know, funny names, haven't they, like Taylor Drift or Snow Oasis, if you want to know where they're gritting, you can check on the app. There is, of course, a full weather update at the end of the programme. OK, Judy, thanks very much indeed. And as you mentioned, we will have a full forecast at the end of the programme. Next tonight, bereaved families have called for the region's councils to scrap more expensive burial fees for people who live outside their area. Jennifer Daimlow's parents wanted to be buried in Manchester. It's where they were born. It's where their family were also laid to rest. But because they'd moved just over the border to Stockport, the cost almost doubled. Kevin Fitzpatrick has the story.
My granddad's buried over that way, my mum and dad are buried over that way, and we only live kind of 4 minutes away from this, down the road really.
Before Jen Daimlow's parents died, they were clear where they wanted to be laid to rest. But the family soon found out that because they'd moved over the border to Stockport, the cost to have them buried in Manchester would be massively more expensive.
It was just shocking, to be honest, because I didn't imagine, with this being our local cemetery, that there would be any extra charge just because my postcode doesn't come under a certain postcode. We are closest to the cemetery than the Stockport cemetery by quite a fair bit. I think this is 1 mile away from our homes, and Stockport's 3.5 miles away from our homes. So it just seemed like a really unnecessary kind of tax on top of grief, really.
So this is the last picture that I had of my dad, actually, the most recent one.
Sam Siddall found herself in a similar situation in October last year. Her dad was a Manchester lad, but finished his life in Stockport. So the family were also charged a non-resident fee on the plot and the burial. We were told that if we wanted to bury him out of the area where he lived, that it would cost us around about an extra £1,000 for my dad. And then as the buyer of the grave, which would be me, I'm also out of the area as well, so they would charge that fee again. So it was quite a lot of money to be paying out. For a burial in Manchester, it's £1,048 if you live there, but another £730 for non-residents. In fact, that's less onerous than elsewhere. In Cheshire East, Cheshire West and Chester, Warrington, Liverpool, Westmoreland and Furness and Preston, the basic burial cost doubles for non-residents. In Wigan, though, there's one flat charge for everyone. Local funeral director Grant Longdon has challenged councils on the justification for the fees, but has been told by some it's been a policy since the 1860s.
Some families are then, I feel, are stuck between guilt and debt, and some people will go into debt in order to look after the loved one.
And have them buried where they wanted to be buried.
And have them buried exactly where they want to be buried.
Manchester City Council told us it doesn't put extra charges on for non-residents. Instead, it says people living in Manchester get a discount. It says the fees are set to protect the limited grave space for local residents. But critics are calling for a flat fee instead and argue that would be fairer.
The last thing you need when you're grieving is to be told that you owe extra money because you just live in the wrong postcode, even though that's your closest cemetery. It just didn't make any sense to me, really.
Kevin Fitzpatrick, BBC North West Tonight.
And there'll be more on that story with Annabelle in Politics Northwest. That's on Sunday morning from 10 a.m. here on BBC One, or of course you can catch up later on the BBC iPlayer. Some more stories in the Northwest then tonight. And in Blackpool, a man who booked a hotel room with this pitch view to watch a football match was told he had to close the curtains after kick-off. It's because of Football League guidelines. Police arrested a 21-year-old driver after a car ploughed through the window of a beauty salon in Gorton. No injuries have been reported there. And Liverpool actor James Nelson Joyce says he feels very lucky to star with his idol Stephen Graham in the second series of the Disney Plus drama 1,000 Blows. You can find more of these stories at bbc.co.uk/local news, or of course on the BBC News app. Now, when it opened more than 90 years ago, New Brighton Marine Lake was the place to sail pleasure boats. But in recent years, it's been neglected. Wirral Council leased the lake to a water sports company which folded. Now, a group of swimmers have formed a friends group with the aim of taking over the lease and securing the venue for swimming and water sports. Lindsay Prosser reports.
On a cold winter's morning, a group of friends gather for a dip at New Brighton Marine Lake.
All you can think about is in that minute, because you've got to think about what you're doing, how you're swimming.
It's like a little switch, because if you're in the water, your sort of brain goes, ugh, it's cold, and you immediately have to think about the present.
Over the years, the number of swimmers has grown. Together, they formed a friends group to keep the lake clean and usable. Now they want to take over the lease for the lake. The last company to hold it stopped running water sports several years ago. The Friends Group has paid for an independent report and believes it can secure the lake's future and make it an attraction once more.
We do some maintenance ourselves to allow as much fresh water in and out. The long-term aspiration is to raise enough money to put one of the systems in that this report identified. So aerate it, we'll maybe trial some planting of seeding it with mussels and sea squirts.
In its heyday, the Marine Lake was an attraction for both visitors and locals. Now a new mural watches over the swimmers. Spirit of the Lake was commissioned by the Friends Group, a symbol of hope for the future.
She's kind of a general protector, an overviewer of the water and the river and the lake to inspire and guide people in times of need.
For the swimmers, the Marine Lake has become an essential part of their health and well-being.
It sort of brings people together from the love of swimming and community. Even if they don't swim, they litter pick. Men talk to each other, which is really, really unusual. And we laugh and lighten the mood.
I mean, doing it on your own would be less of an experience. It's doing it with a group of people is just funny. It just makes you sort of, it's just a nice experience to start the day, really.
We want it welcomed, and every possible person that can enjoy and benefit for their well-being and their health to be down here. That's everything from kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding, maybe small boats sailing on it, dipping, swimming.
There's more work to be done, but the Friends plan to be in a position to bid for the lease in the summer. Lindsay Prosser, BBC North West Tonight, New Brighton.
On to sport now then, and to one of the standout ties of round 3 of the FA Cup. Macclesfield FC of the National League North are the competition's lowest ranked side, and they are, as we speak, preparing to host the cup holders Crystal Palace. Ian Haslam is there for us. Ian, you look very cosy. It's exciting times there tonight.
Yeah, very exciting. Exciting to be cosy here in this Macclesfield FC technical area, where the manager John Rooney and his team will be based tomorrow. All very good. Come over here, though, because these are the technical area dugout, whatever you want to call it, dugout for Premier League Crystal Palace, the FA Cup holder. Oliver Glasner, their manager, is going to be sat in one of these seats, and nothing plush about that, is there? He's going to get a culture shock tomorrow when he comes down here to the Leasing.com Stadium. As you'll hear in the report we're about to show you, this is obviously the biggest moment in Macclesfield FC's history since they formed as the Macclesfield Town Phoenix Club back in 2020. The build-up has been tinged with real sadness that's put into perspective the fact that this is just a football match, but at the same time it is a football match that's having a galvanising effect on everyone here. Club staff and volunteers worked hard to clear the pitch of snow earlier this week ahead of Macclesfield FC's big day. Victory at National League Southside Slough in round 2 had assured the club a place in round 3 and a dream tie. This is number 13.
Number 13 are the holders, Crystal Palace.
Oh, what a great tie that is, Alex.
Yep.
I think if we can manage to get something in the game and try and knock the current holders out in the third round, that'll be one of the biggest upsets of all time.
If they beat you, it's like, well, they've just beat a National League North side. If they lose, then it's going to be remembered forever. They must be absolutely dreading this game.
Yeah, of course, listen, for them, they're expected to win. So as you touch on, for them, it's a lose-lose. It's one of them days to go and enjoy the occasion, and you're playing on BBC in front of millions of people. You know, go and showcase what you can do and go and show them how good these levels of football are down in the National League, and that there's real gems at this level.
In 2020, just weeks after Macclesfield Town was wound up at the High Court, local businessman Rob Smethurst bought the club's ground and other assets, and with the help of Robbie Savage, launched Macclesfield FC. Rob, we were here when you took over the club a few years ago now. You promised big things and you've delivered, especially this weekend.
5 years later, you know, Premier League team coming here like Crystal Palace is unbelievable, not only just for myself, but for the fans and the fan base and basically the community. You know, it's going to be a special moment and a special day. Sadly, tragedy has marred the build-up. On December 16th, forward Ethan McLeod died in a car accident while travelling back from Macclesfield's match at Bedford Town. On Boxing Day, a minute's silence was held for the 21-year-old. He's been a huge part of us. You know, he had a great smile, he was a lovely lad, and you know, he was amazing. So yeah, it's been a tough one. They've been exhausted by it, to be fair, the players. You know, so I'm really proud of what they've been doing over the last sort of 3 matches to try and pull themselves together, and you know, and that's all we can do, to be fair. Macclesfield's success over the last 2 seasons has owed much to the goals of Danny Elliott. The prolific striker is currently the top scorer in the FA Cup. Are you going to score against Palace?
I'd hope so, yeah. I mean, it's going to be a lot more challenging, I'd say, than the last couple of rounds. But, you know, I've scored 5 in the FA Cup so far this year. So hopefully if I can get a 6th in a game like Saturday, it will be absolutely fantastic. And, you know, I think that we'll have to work our absolute socks off and have a stroke of luck. But, you know, anything can happen in the FA Cup. I genuinely believe, call me delusional, but I think we might have a slight chance.
Right, I'm putting £1 on this then. Maybe £1.50.
Oh, it's the effort, hits it! Macclesfield into round 3.
You heard there from John Rooney. His famous FA Cup winning brother Wayne will be a pundit for the BBC tomorrow here. That's live at midday, or just after midday here. This is Jed, the groundsman. Hello. He's painting the technical area. How small is this technical area? It's unbelievable because they've got these new advertising boards, these electric boards, just for the game. The smallest technical areas in world football at this moment, surely. You also heard from Rob Smethurst there, the main man responsible for bringing this club together back from the ashes sort of thing in 2020. Rob, thank you for joining us. The game is almost upon us. Describe your emotions right now.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I mean, who would have thought it? Crystal Palace at home, you know, I mean, yeah, emotions just, there are no words, to be fair. It's something that we're super excited about. You know, the buzz around the place has been incredible today, and, you know, we just can't wait to get the game on and, you know, look forward to what happens.
How many tickets have you sold, and what was demand like when those tickets went on sale?
You know what, it was absolutely crazy. We advertised them. I think we sold around about, well, there was about 2,500 people queuing around the stadium. It was an amazing sight to see, and we sold everything within around 2 hours. So, yeah, absolute huge demand, and you know, there's a lot of disappointed fans that didn't manage to get tickets, but yeah, it was incredible. Yesterday when we were filming, people might have seen it in the report in the background, there were covers all over the pitch, plastic covers. It's an artificial surface. Tell us about the thinking behind the covering it, because I understand it wasn't cheap either. No, it wasn't. It's something that we had to make a decision. I think it was around about £6,000. You know, the weather's been horrendous, as you know, and we just could not take that risk. It's one of the biggest games ever for us, and you know, we certainly had to make a decision to hopefully, if it did snow, we would have been able to have sorted it. Danny Elliott said in the report, your star striker, a few moments ago, that Macclesfield basically have a chance. Is he right in that, my friend? Oh, well, it's a David Goliath story, isn't it? I mean, you know, I'd like to say that, you know, it would be amazing. It would be a dream come true for all of us. You know, it's the FA Cup. You never know what will happen, but you know, the reality is Crystal Palace are phenomenal. And very quickly, what will Crystal Palace think of the experience of coming here? They're not used to National League North grounds. No, they're not. You know, the changing rooms are small. You know, there's no heating in there, and you know, there's it's going to be a tough one for them when they come here, but you know, the atmosphere will be incredible.
Brilliant, thank you very much, Rob.
No
Good
problem.
luck for tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
What an exciting time this is. Let's talk other FA Cup ties now. Plenty of other interesting ties across the weekend, not least tonight as Preston North End host Wigan Athletic, while Fleetwood go to Port Vale. Liverpool don't play until Monday against Barnsley, but last night in the Premier League they drew 0-0 at leaders Arsenal. They might have won had Conor Bradley's effort not hit the bar. Meanwhile, Arsenal's Gabriel Martinelli has apologised for trying to push Bradley off the pitch late in the game after he'd picked up an injury that could prove serious. Well, last night's FA Cup runners-up Manchester City are at home to Exeter in the FA Cup tomorrow. In Rugby Union tomorrow, it's confusing fixture time as Sale Sharks host Durban Sharks in the Champions Cup. Now, Sale Sharks, you might recall, won their last match in the competition at Claremont in December, a bonus point win that boosted their hopes of qualifying from Pool 1. Good luck to the Sharks tomorrow. Our Sharks, Sale Sharks, easy mistake to make. And with that, we're done here. So don't forget, Macclesfield versus Crystal Palace. It is live on BBC One tomorrow from midday. I was right in my first time I said it before. Midday. And Wayne Rooney's one of the pundits. His brother's the manager. How about that?
Oh, Ian, thank you. What an insight. I can't believe the size of that technical area. Go and get yourself warm and a new coat. It looks freezing. Thank you, Ian. It's hard to believe that it will soon be 10 years since we lost one of our greatest comedians, Victoria Wood. Today, a new film with long unseen footage has been released. It's called Becoming Victoria Wood and tells the story of how this shy young woman from Bury became one of the most influential entertainers of her generation. Anna Jameson reports.
Let's do it while the mood is right. I'm feeling appealing, I really got an appetite.
She reshaped the landscape of British humour.
Oh, we're here now. She was the trailblazer.
She was fearless. Victoria Wood.
I'd never quite seen anybody like her.
Hello. She was just Vicky. Now, a new film tells the story of how she got there.
There's a hell of a lot of stuff in there, audio, video, scrapbooks, letters, and it's never been mined in a television documentary before. So it's really, really good to see it being brought together in such an intelligent way and talking to people who knew Victoria well.
She was a very shy person.
Off I go then.
She needed to become comfortable as herself.
She had quite an isolated childhood. She was the youngest of four in a family who lived on a hill above Bury, and she was rather neglected by her parents. And the neglect of the mother is a massive through line in her work, well illustrated by this film. And then there were the issues that she had with her weight throughout her teenage years and going on into her 20s and 30s.
Do you think you're at all self-conscious because you are plumpish?
Yes. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure that's the main part of it, actually.
And she was incredibly shy as well. So all of these things kind of fed into her comedy. We think she's just a very, very funny woman, but she had to find things to be funny about.
And her formative years are still celebrated today in her hometown of Bury.
She's Bury's most famous daughter. We absolutely love Victoria because she was a real local girl. She went to local primary schools, went to Bury Grammar. I mean, I was on Bury Market recently and a voice came over the tannoy and I just thought, that is a Victoria Wood character. So she gleaned all her material in her early days from the Bury people.
I think I saw Christine put the sweeteners in it. Two little blue ones in the tissue.
No, my sweeteners are white and a little... What are the blue ones? Viagra.
Can you believe it's been 10 years since we lost Victoria Wood?
I can't. It's such a shame, and a lot of comments that we've had as a gallery when people visit all say she was taken too soon.
We weren't having hysterectomies every 2 minutes either, like the girls these days. If something went wrong down below, you kept your gob shut and turned up the wires.
Becoming Victoria Wood is out in selected cinemas now and will be shown on New Gold.
I like to live dangerously.
Anna Jameson, BBC North West Tonight in Bury.
Oh, it looks great, doesn't it? Right, let's have a look at that weather forecast. Here's Darren Bett.
Hello there. Storm Goretti has left the UK and eventually things are going to turn much milder. It's been cold again today. Most of the snow over the hills. There has been a bit of a thaw. It's been rain and drizzle that's been falling through much of the day. Tomorrow's still going to be cold, but it should be dry for the most part as well. That's where the storm is. It's heading its way into central parts of Europe, taking away the stronger winds as well. Overnight tonight, we're going to find a few wintry showers coming in over towards Pennine areas. These showers coming in over the Irish Sea, likely to push their way more into Wales, so we're going to be left with some clearer skies and light winds as well. It could lead to some mist and fog forming and a frost quite widely as well. Temperatures down to -3 or so, and given the earlier wet weather, that's likely to lead to some icy conditions. Mist and fog though shouldn't last too long early on Saturday morning, and then it looks like we should miss most of the showers. A lot of dry weather, some sunshine at times. The winds will be quite light, but remember we've got that cold and frosty start, and it's not going to warm up a great deal during the day. We've got afternoon highs, perhaps 3-4 degrees at very best. Now, heading into the second half of the weekend, things are going to change again. We've got some weather systems coming in from the Atlantic, bringing some wet and windy weather. For a while, though, early in the day, there could be some snow over the Pennines. There are yellow warnings from the Met Office. That snow will turn to rain here and elsewhere. We're going to find some rain from time to time, a stronger wind picking up. This time it's a southerly wind, though, and that will lift the temperatures into the afternoon to 7, even 8 degrees on Sunday, but things could get milder still as we head into the beginning of next week. All that cold air getting shunted away. We've got more of a south to southwesterly wind coming in, bringing some rain at times. But for the start of next week, temperatures could be as high as 11 degrees. And whilst it will turn a little cooler through the rest of the week, those temperatures are near normal, little or no frost around. Not really going to see any snow, but there will be rain at times.
It will feel tropical in comparison, won't it? If you are heading out this evening, stay warm and stay safe. And thank you for watching. I'll be back with the late news. Until then, bye-bye.